Thank you very much. This is kind of a couple things tonight. Some thank you slides, some where we've been, where we are, and a little bit about where perhaps we should go next with regards to studying some of our data more in depth. And then, of course, the literacy update that I think we've done now for the past few years at least. And as the board, the sitting board, when I became principal, that was one of the non-negotiables. That was one of the promises. Literacy was going to be at the center of what we do in this high school, and we're going to do it differently than perhaps people have thought of it in high schools before. And in the first few weeks of this, it's not going to feel okay for kids and for maybe teachers, but we're going to do it, and it's going to make a difference. So as I step out of the principalship and hand the keys to Dr. Salzman, I want these folks to be able to say this is what we've done, and I know they have big plans for what we need to continue to do in the future. So just want to make sure. AP. The AP program has grown. You can see we exceed the national average of 58.7% of those scoring 3 or higher. I'm proud of what's been done there. There's still more work that will be done there. 26 total AP courses, and a little bit later I have some slides on some different, some other data points with regards to AP, but here's my first thank you. My first thank you is to the board. 69 new courses added to Beloit Memorial High School's course catalog since 2010-2011. It is so much of a joy to take folks on tours, to show them the course catalog and hear the absolute shock and awe that they just don't see course catalogs quite like this, or AP programs quite like this. So thank you to the board, and also to the department chairs and the teachers who brought those things forward. For whatever reason, people felt initially that maybe the culture wasn't to do these kinds of things, and you as a board said, hey, we'll open the gates as long as it's reasonable, it's academic, and it's going to get results. This is kind of where we are right now. 327 exams were taken by 233 students representing 13.9% of the population. You can see compared to last year with 264 exams at 12.1%. That number's grown each year. The diversity has grown each year, and I know Dr. Salzman is going to be full-on engaged in a new initiative that's going to further diversify the courses and increase the enrollment in those courses. But when you look at the success rate of students in these classes at a 3 or higher, very good. When you look at the fact that this is a district where we have not emphasized test rates as essentially the only measure, but that getting kids in those classes in and of itself, whether they get a 3 or a 2 or a 1 or a 5, it grows them up and it makes them better. And I think we've started to penetrate this notion that AP is just for these kind of kids. Whatever that means, whatever that definition is, that doesn't nearly exist like it did when I was in high school. This is another thank you. This was a big leap for a lot of people. Initially, it was a big leap for the English faculty. Springboard has been great for our school, great for our district. And I've said it before and I'll say it again. When other people weren't doing it because they were afraid of it, this board said we will do it. We will put something in place that is highly rigorous, that maybe others haven't done yet, but now they're doing it. If you notice, you look around, especially bigger districts, they're going this route. This year we have a new, essentially they've redone it. So they've updated it, and my experts to my right, Dr. Pam Kiefert, another expert that I go to as a high school curriculum director, and what little I can garner from the compendium of research is it's even way better, way better. And it wasn't bad before. And if you talk to the English faculty, maybe some that were reluctant a few years back, they say this is good stuff. These folks will tell you they can see the difference, not just from intervention, but from raising the harbor and raising the boats in the harbor by going with this program. This is a very good thing, and again, thank you to the board for that. Graduation rates that came out recently, articles in the paper. I could probably be up here, or Dr. Salzman could be up here for 45 minutes to an hour doing just a presentation on graduation rates. So I didn't include all of the slides because there's a ton of slides. That is an area that I think going forward, it might be time to do a more in-depth analysis of graduation rates, of gaps that we see, gaps that are closing. You see that our four-year rate, as it's been done in the past 4 years, you see it's it's pretty level. It's been in the low 80s. This year, 81.9% for the 12-13 cohort. It's improved from prior years, but I still think there's ways to go on the 4-year rate. That being said, I think people put maybe sometimes too much emphasis on the 4-year rate, because if you think about it, and you think about college, and you think about learning and learners, sometimes you don't get it done in a neat box per se. But when you look at our 5-year rate, so this could be students that just graduated in 4 years in the summer, or 4 years in a semester, or 5 years, 92.3%, which is a slight gain from the previous cohort. That makes me feel better. Obviously, it's not high enough. We want everyone to graduate, but it definitely makes me feel better about our students. 6-year rate, 92%. This is probably a pretty small number of students that actually take that long, but again, when we do a more in-depth analysis, which is actually underway, and Dr. Salzman and I will talk a little bit more about how that should look in the future in a future board presentation, we're seeing some very positive things with our students of color in large part. We're seeing a gender gap that exists across the country if you look at other schools. So there's areas to say, wow, we're doing pretty good things, and there's areas to say we need to study that more. Study that more, and I think the graduation rate, again, that's a presentation in and of itself. The dropout rate, 1.24%. The state's at 1.35. That's the lowest dropout rate ever recorded in this district since 1996 when those numbers started going on the DPI website. This is something to be proud of. And we've worked very hard, whether it's credit recovery, whether it's the curriculum, getting those students to stay in school. We'll do anything to do that. But at the same time, this isn't an artificial number. Nobody's cooking the books. That's why we have a 5-year rate and a 6-year rate, because you have to meet certain standards to graduate from high school. So I think this, combined with the graduation data and some of the other things, this sends a really good message to our community that we're working hard and we're doing the right things on behalf of our students. And again, to go on that DPI site, and I've done this a few times just for kicks, makes you really proud to see where we've been and where we are. One of the projects I've been working on, along with Steve and some others, is Visit Beloit's doing a relocation package. And one of the questions that they wanted to know was, tell us about the top 25% of your class in ACT scores. You know, people get caught up in the composite, which is important. And of course, as we know, going forth, it's going to be really important to districts as the new assessment. But it's important to know in a school like Beloit, where our learners come from different places and different experiences and different levels of skill. And what does it look like at the top 25%? And this is what Visit Beloit has asked for. And you can see, I won't read each line for line, but you can see broken down by top 5, 10, 15, 20, and 25. You can see that the composite rates, when you look at the national rank, we do pretty good. We hold our own in many respects in here. So this was a positive thing to see as we started to study. And this is a good example of probably what we need to start doing with that graduation rate, studying cohorts and smaller groups and figuring out what's going on. And so this is how we did that for the ACT. Scholarships, these are figures that people say, wow, I had no idea. $4.2 million in 2014. I told Erin Wolf, who's our scholarship coordinator at the beginning of the year, if it doesn't have at least a 4 or high in front of it, don't tell me. She got $4 million, and now it's up to 4.2. And since 2011, $13.7 million has been awarded. And this is awarded and accepted. There's millions of dollars more that our students are offered. Probably our board rep, Mrs. Charles, she's probably had competing offers out there, I would imagine. And so this represents what she and the other seniors of this year were actually accepted. So that's a true number. Now, again, I want to emphasize the literacy part has been huge for the climate of Beloit Memorial, the learning of Beloit Memorial, the course offerings, and these 3 ladies, Mary Studeman, Deb Brossard, and Lynn Roden, are responsible for all of it. And I want to thank them and invite them to come on up.
Thank you. Okay. Oh, it's kind of hard to read, but I first wanted to remind you of the literacy model, the responsive instruction literacy model that you approved in our planning year of 2010-11. You gave us some latitude in some deadlines that were kind of late in coming, but you understood the urgency that we had to put this in place and allow this to occur. We've grown to 4 courses at our tippy-top tier there, the targeted literacy intervention courses. We've grown to 3 courses in the selected literacy tier, and then that bottom tier is all of our universal English offerings, which includes our Springboard curriculum, as well as AP Literature Language, the Black Hawk transcripted course, and then our aligned English curriculum for those students whom we are still reaching the Common Core standards, but at a level where they are instructionally. Okay. I wish I'd brought my clicker. That one, okay. Alrighty. I'm not going to read each of those bullets. You can read them for yourself there. But be reminded that our students in the targeted tier, when we scoop them up, they fall between that 15th and 24th percentile. And this year alone, we had the 22 sections, first and second semester, and we had 15 staff that covered those 22 sections during the school year. That includes our certified English ESL, and we had content area teachers help us this year for the first time. That targeted literacy tier had been reserved for only English teachers. This year we brought some content teachers aboard, and they got similar results, very, very good results. These are the characteristics of those students in the targeted literacy intervention tier. One of the biggest things is lacking that reading stamina. They need more time and practice at that, and the more they build up their stamina, then they are able to apply that in their classes. And our students in targeted literacy have that often first semester, and then they go into a selected literacy class the second semester. We've been given the charge of trying to get students in and out of intervention within 4 semesters. That was our original goal, and now we've been challenged to get them in and out in 2 semesters. So we'll see what we can do. Our middle school students are coming in stronger, and my colleagues will speak to that in just a little bit. So I think we can meet that challenge of those 2 semesters. Our students in the selected literacy tier are between the 25th and 46th percentile. That's how we scoop them up. And we had 21 sections and 19 staff. Covered all areas of the disciplines at our school. Those are the characteristics of the students in that tier. And then a couple of you were able to see this slide at Convocation. We are very proud of the difference of our incoming freshman class. Now this is a cohort of 429 students. So this is score for score, student for student, from the fall and the spring. It isn't the entire freshman class because it's a different bunch coming in that end at the end. But these are 429 of the same students. This is a portion of the NWEA Reading Norms chart from 2011, and the numbers represent a mean RIT score for the beginning, middle, and end of a school year. Those freshmen, the class of 2018, entered in the fall with a mean of 219 and have now grown to the mean of 223. So you can see that the majority of these students will be more than ready for the rigor that lies ahead. We've done this now 2 years in a row, seeing that difference of when they came in and what they look like in the spring of their 9th grade year. With that, I'll turn it over to my colleague, Mary. You're at left.
Before I start recording, I just want to reiterate what she just said. So when the freshman class came in this year, the middle of average is right here. They're leaving, and the middle of average is right here. Now you're going to say to yourself, that's 4 points. Come on, guys. Right?
Yeah.
But what happens is Okay. In a minute, I'm going to show with you the number of students that have actually exited the program for intervention. We're very, very, very proud of this. What this means is that this number of students did not have an opportunity to read at the high school level. And without a literacy program, they would not have had an opportunity. Okay? It means that these students have been measured two different ways. They had to prove their high school reading ability on both the qualitative reading inventory and the measure of academic progress. Because, well, look at us. We've all raised kids, and so we don't believe you on one measure. So we made them measure it twice. And we did that because when we do that, we have the greatest level of confidence that these students can earn satisfactory scores on 3 post-secondary options. The COMPASS test for technology schools like Blackhawk, the ASVAB for the military, and the ACT for 2-year or 4-year college entrance. And this is the number. That's a heck of an investment. I look at that and I am in awe of what our staff has done. That's amazing. The other thing is that in that 275, and I always get a little emotional at this slide. I don't know what it is. This slide gets me. But there are kids in that 275 that took AP tests this spring. That's belief. That's a belief system that you helped fund, and we're very grateful for that. Now, how do you get to there? Well, how you get to there is we tell our students when they're behind, they're going to have to run further faster. Now, how do you do that? Well, you do that by accelerating your growth. So how well did we do? This year, we've been able to say that 56% of our students in targeted literacy grew 1 year in 4 months' time. That's down from the previous 2 years that we had about 75%. Okay, so now we're getting kids that are a little bit further behind or a little bit struggle harder. Okay, 70% of the students grew 1 year in 4 months' time that were in the selected group. Now, we weren't real satisfied with that first number. It didn't look good enough to us. So what we did was we said, what happens when you put multiple semesters together? When we started, you heard we had 4 semesters, and now we've got 2. So what does happen when you put 2 semesters together? And you get something called significantly accelerated growth. Two years in 8 months, we call that a good bang for your buck. So the goal is to look at our students and say, can we work with you by adding value to your program and help you run further faster? And the answer is absolutely yes. The other thing that we're very proud of with this number is that there is no gap with race or gender in these numbers. We have a program that we believe has gone beyond any of our original expectations. Okay? I'm going to move ahead. We've had representatives, 3 different state representatives visit us. We've had 30 school districts and business groups come to us during the past 3 years. 30. When we started this, Tom said the buses would roll up. I didn't realize that the airlines were going to roll up. We've had people from as far away as Utah and West Las Vegas, Nevada. I love saying that. And as close as Whitefish Bay and Beloit Turner. And all of those school districts have used our program as a model for theirs. The business groups are most excited that we have chosen to use college and career readiness as our focus. And we believe that's the right focus too. The 70 faculty members, I have to talk about that for a minute. They represent 140 sections of literacy at the high school. We've been busy at that high school, 140 sections. Our staff has been willing to do whatever it took. My favorite thing about that number 70 is that it includes a lot of staff from multiple disciplines, even the orchestra teacher. So when they go back to their disciplines, they take this literacy knowledge with them. And that's a great professional development program. This is my last slide. And I want to say that this was our vision. And it comes to us from the National Secondary Association of Principals. And I'm going to tell you that we have accomplished our vision. Now, what's the next step? Because there's always a next step. And Lynn's going to tell you about that. I'm going to click you back, Lynn. I really clicked back. 11. I want 11. No, try 13. Middle school. Got it.
There it is.
Thanks.
So where do we go next? Mary talked to you about the students who are coming in, that some of the students coming in are a little tougher to work with. So we're moving our focus to the middle school, and we started that this past year. And I'm one of the people that's also assigned at the middle school, and that's why they asked me to talk about this. The tiers are the same, and again, it's kind of hard to read, but Tier 3 is targeted literacy at the top, selected literacy in the middle, and then the universal is at the bottom. It has the two parts, the one that Dr. Johnson talked about, the Springboard program, which we use in grades 6, 7, and 8. Very rigorous program for middle schoolers. If it's tough for high schoolers, you can well imagine what it's like for middle schoolers. And the aligned curriculum for those students who aren't quite ready for Springboard. That's a low number of students, but some of them are ELL students, some of them are special education students, some of them are both ELL and special education students, and some of them are regular ed students. The regular ed students typically work their way out of that and back to Springboard more quickly than the others. In this program at the middle school this year, we had 586 students enrolled in the targeted tier and the selected tier, combining both middle schools. Think about that, 586 students were receiving intervention. Okay, 360 or 61% of those grew more than a year in the year that they were in intervention. 61%. And of those 360, 73% of those had more than a year and a half's growth in that first year of intervention. So we've been working with them. We started the year before last just getting kids in. We worked very hard with them this year. That's the kind of growth that we're seeing with those students. So we really feel like we're making great inroads there too, and we're ready for the 4th and 5th graders to come on board. Thank you, everyone.